You don't need AI agents, which may sound weird coming from ServiceNow, the leader in AI agents. The truth is, AI agents need you. Sure, they'll process, predict, even get work done autonomously. But they don't dream, read a room, rally a team, and they certainly don't have shower thoughts, pivotal hallway chats, or big ideas. People do. And people, when given the best AI platform, they're freed up to do the fulfilling work they want to do. To see how ServiceNow puts AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
I'm Yasmin Gagne.
I'm Josh Christensen.
And this is Most Innovative Companies. On today's episode, Fast Company contributor John Pavlus.
They have the same problems that everyone else has who leaned in hard to this technology, which is just, it's fundamentally unreliable.
Stitch Fix CEO Matt Baer.
How can we use technology and innovation to create superior client experiences?
And as always, keeping tabs.
Which is fascinating because I feel like Mr. Beast is trying to speed run the 40 under 40 to prison pipeline.
But first, here's the download, the news you need to know this week in the world of business and innovation.
Last week, Netflix announced an $83 billion deal to acquire Warner Bros. Movie studio and HBO Max, leaving the company's cable offerings, including CNN, independent. Then, on Monday, Paramount Skydance launched a hostile takeover, going straight to shareholders and offering to buy all of Warner Bros. Discovery at $30 a share, or roughly $108 billion total. The fate of Warner Bros. Discovery could ultimately be decided by the White House and regulators, because that's the timeline we live in, which may favor Paramount. But for now, the deal remains in limbo. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
I know. Wait, there's nothing really to add. I'm like, yeah. Good luck to everyone. Nvidia got the green light from Trump to sell their H200 AI chips to approved customers in China. H200 is better than the H20 chips that Nvidia was allowed to export, but it's still not as powerful as the Blackwell chip launched this year. In addition to that, the U.S. government is going to get 25% of the revenue made from selling those chips. Lawmakers are worried that giving China the AI chips would put the U.S. at a disadvantage in the AI race.
Trump is planning to bail out farmers by giving them $12 billion to offset the loss caused by his own trade policies. The farmers have been hit hard after China, the biggest buyer of American soybeans, retaliated and stopped buying crops like soybeans from American farmers. Trump's bailout is set to launch in February and will allocate $11 billion to farmers of crops like rice, soybeans, and wheat, and $1 billion for fruit and vegetable producers. Do you see the interviews with Scott Bessent where he keeps talking about being a soybean farmer, or since he owns a soybean farm?
Funny.
It's very funny.
Earlier this week, we had the exclusive that Hinge CEO Justin McLeod has stepped down from the company he founded to launch a new dating app called Overtone. He's not sharing much about Overtone at the moment, but we know that it will be an AI-driven app focused on audio and backed by the Match Group, which also owns Hinge and Tinder. Hinge's new CEO will be Jackie Jantos, who until recently was the president and chief marketing officer at Hinge.
And that's news you need to know today.
So, Josh, what is the craziest fake answer you've gotten from an AI bot?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I've gotten any, crazy ones. It's just
small mistakes.
Little drips and drabs of small mistakes. It's not so much of I asked them who Isaac Newton was, and they said he was one of the Paul brothers or something crazy like that.
I learned really quickly, I felt like I had one day where I asked it, how much money did this company raise? And I put it in a draft, and then my editor was like, where did you get this number? And I was like, damn, that number is so inaccurate, and I have never used it for anything since. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that is really tough. The math, just the numbers of it. It's kind of it reminds me of, do you ever go on those sites that are celebritynetworth.
No, but I love that you do. And it does seem like something I would do.
Yeah, it does seem. It's very Daily Mail coded. And it's always funny to type in, what's this person's net worth? And it comes back with something outlandish. And you're like, that doesn't add up. And of course it's not. real in any way. That's what AI overviews sometimes feels like when you ask about financial questions. Although I guess it's probably best to do like a notebook LM, like take an earnings report and maybe summarize. Maybe that's a better use. Yeah.
I don't think you're really hallucinating. Like if you feed in information and say, look through this and tell me, it's usually okay. It's more just like the Google, like,
the query.
Search something and just see what it spits out. I swear it's like wrong 60% of the time. So the reason we're talking about this is because hallucination or AI spitting out false answers has been a major problem for AI companies and AI users. In a report by AI startup Vectara, even the most advanced systems like Claude Sonnet 4.5, GPT-5, and Gemini 3 Pro have hallucination rates of over 10%. Our guest today, Fast Company contributor John Pavlus, went to the Amazon offsite to talk to a scientist that made it his mission to minimize hallucinations. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
So before we get into your reporting on AI hallucinations in Amazon, let's give it a little context. You mentioned in your article, Deutsche Bank published earlier in the fall something called The Summer AI Turned Ugly. How did AI turn ugly? What does that even mean?
That was their super fun, pithy way of just kind of capturing just a bunch of ways that sort of like the BS around AI kind of like caught up with it this year.
Yeah. Some analyst was like really feeling themselves when they wrote that head.
You got to get that Gen Z audience to read the Deutsche Bank report.
It worked on me. I never read those reports.
But sorry, I interrupted you.
Anyway, so like a few things about what they were talking about. So one thing that appeared in their report was this, a reference to this MIT study or report that kind of went viral for claiming that 95% of enterprise AI experiments and deployments were just delivering zero return on their investment. So basically failing.
Yeah.
And that really actually like wobbled the tech stocks for a minute. People in the market seemed to really take that seriously. It didn't, slam the brakes on anything, obviously, but it had an impact. So that was one thing. And then, other things that we all kind of noticed kind of happening last year, GPT-5 had this kind of like wet fart of a release where like, Sam Altman was promising AGI essentially, if not in actual name. And it just, didn't come close to doing that.
And then obviously his next announcement was like,
erotica.
AI porn. Yeah. Like,
right. Yeah. Changing the channel, everybody. Yeah. And then the other thing was like, and this was kind of funny to me, where like vibe coding kind of like just went through like the entire like Gartner hype cycle in like 2 seconds. Like it went kind of like zoomed up to the top of like, this is going to be amazing. And it went mainstream and everything is awesome about it. And everybody needs to be doing it. And then within a matter of like a month or two after that, it's like all the developers are like, this is crap. Like this doesn't work. And, and if you want to make like a toy for your notifications on your laptop or something, then yes. But otherwise, like, no.
Did you do any vibe coding?
No, I just don't find that kind of thing interesting. I'm not saying it isn't interesting. I just don't do it. So
I briefly tried after our global tech editor, Harry McCracken, gave a demo to the newsroom. He was like, I spent hours on this note-taking system. And then I was like, trying to make my own. And I was like, wait, I just take notes, though. I don't know what he's... It's like, so nice for you that you need a complicated system, but I really do just open a Google Doc.
I think the me of like 20 years ago would have been really, really into it because I was really into complicated things just for the fun of
classic.
it. But now I avoid that kind of thing. So that was a thing. And then the last thing, which was kind of, more into the fall, but, still part of this shine coming off of AI kind of phenomenon that was happening was, this narrative of the AI bubble kind of really started getting traction. So all those things together is sort of like what, this sort of like turning ugly kind of feel was about.
And I feel like this is such a broad question. But how has Amazon been using AI? They obviously use it in like every part of their business, right? But
Right. Literally, probably, or nearly literally.
Yeah, exactly. But for the purpose of this conversation, like, what is the use case that's interesting?
Right. So for the purposes of this conversation, we will assume that by AI, we all now mean like post-chat GPT stuff. So yeah, they have a whole managed service called Amazon Bedrock that kind of wraps up all of the big models that are out there from places like Anthropic and OpenAI and Google and elsewhere into kind of one access point, one unified API where you can just kind of like, if you want to build a generative AI apps or now agents, you can kind of like talk to whatever model you want through like one tin can. And that's convenient. And, you know, you can also use it to bolt on things like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and guardrails, which is their thing. They have a whole suite of little add-ons that kind of like keep your app on the rails. So that's like their big kind of post ChatGPT AI product. But they also sort of semi-invisibly just kind of like injected it into, you know, the things that everybody was using already, like music and Prime Video and, you know, retail pages. And, you know, you may have encountered it on, you know, they have a couple chatbots. So one of them is Rufus, which is the one when you shop. And then there's another one called Amazon Q, which is more for kind of like enterprise applications. And they spun up an AGI lab because that's what is done now. And yeah, so it's, you know, they're like everybody else. They really leaned in hard.
And they've had problems with hallucinations like everybody else, right?
Yes. They have the same problems that everyone else has who leaned in hard to this technology, which is just, it's fundamentally unreliable, shockingly, you know?
Nice.
So they apparently had this kind of issue with Amazon Q for a minute where it was getting flagged for kind of allegedly leaking confidential data, which is pretty serious.
That actually rules. It's like not even getting a small thing wrong.
Yeah.
It's like the Silicon Valley episode where they just start deleting all of essentially the porn website's videos, but faster than has ever been done before.
I remember that. Well, so yeah, so their problems, I would say their problems with hallucinations were not of a different kind than like anybody else's problems with hallucinations. You know, it was almost sort of like, I just sort of found it difficult to continue to pay that much attention to any single instance of like.
That's a good way of putting it.
LLM technology is crappy in this regard or failing in that regard, you know, because it was just sort of like a constant drip. But the big kind of thing that their problem was, which is also not unique to them, you know, the problem with LLMs and hallucinations was that it was just getting in the way of making agents a thing. And that's bad for business if you're Amazon. So that was like the biggest problem with hallucinations, I would say they were having. So
who is this guy, Byron Cook, who decided to take all this on? He has a very, like, you know, romance novel name, sort of romance pirate name. Tell me a little bit about him and why he went to Amazon.
Yeah, so this didn't make it into the piece, but he was so interesting. I just want to take a second to kind of say a little bit about where he came from. So he's, you know, Byron Cook is kind of this, you know, he calls himself, or one of his coworkers called him, a mad scientist. And he really kind of does fit the bill. Like he's this kind of like genius weirdo who, you know, he went to one of those high schools where you don't have grades or classes and you design your own curriculum. And he spent part of his time, you know, rebuilding Volkswagen engines with an ex-NASA engineer instead of like doing trigonometry in high school. And then, you know, his life, his early life was very sort of like,
he's like a very special boy. Yeah.
Well, he was a smart kid, obviously, and his parents raised him in this way where they're like, we want you to be able to learn how to learn, not just kind of, you know, puke up, you know, facts and stuff. And so he got turned on to, you know, logic in university in this way, which was kind of like, he didn't set out to get into this line of work. He was more just like, this was hard, and I haven't, I like hard things. And also all of his, he was in the Pacific Northwest at the time. This was the 90s. All of his friends were in bands and getting on MTV. And like him
and
kind of like,
I love Logic.
Well, yes, he was like, I mean, I'm not making this up. He just told me this. He's like, this was his weird kind of like inverted version of being a rebel. He's like, I'm gonna.
That's him giving himself a lot of credit.
But he's like,
guys, no, I'm actually crazy. You don't understand.
Yeah, they call him the Fonz of applied AI.
Well, yeah, he was just like, I haven't had rules in my life, and this is super hard, and I'm going to really lean into like this super hard rulesy stuff. And then he just found out that he actually really had a knack for it and kind of loved it, and then he that became his career. So he kind of like launches like a rocket into Microsoft Research, which is where he worked as a scientist for about a decade. And he's working in this domain called automated reasoning, which is applying mathematical logic to all kinds of things, like from the mundane, like kind of like making sure that printer drivers can be, validated to be correct, to sort of really high, heady stuff like applying it to something called the halting problem, or even like systems biology. How can you sort of use this kind of computerized logic approach to kind of make medical understanding more tractable? So all kinds of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then by about 2014, he's kind of getting itchy about staying in academia. He was full of these kind of like quips that he would just throw off that would make his PR handler like go goggle-eyed every time he said something like this. He said like, how many kind of like peer-reviewed research papers can you write at the end of the day? And he's like...
Well, he's not wrong, but yes.
I know.
Yeah.
So he wants to kind of get out of the lab and sort of put this thing that he's dedicated his mental life to work. And he just is looking around and looking for opportunities. This is when the cloud is getting really big, and he just figures that Amazon and AWS, which is their cloud division, he figures that's where he belongs because he can kind of make the hugest impact there.
What's the best way to put this? Did he have a clear sense of what that impact could be, or was he just like the scale and scope of Amazon's work means I could do something interesting?
I think both. I think he came in there with some specific ideas, I think, of sort of like what to attack, and found some agreement. The first thing that they kind of threw him at was security for AWS, which, big deal. Everybody's got their data in the cloud, and you want to make sure that it stays where you put it and can't get out of where you don't. People who you want to make sure it just does exactly what you want it to do while it's up there. And his discipline was really, it took some convincing for them to kind of get it, but it was like a hand in glove fit. It was sort of like more than kind of like security bug hunting. You can sort of use this thing that he does called automated reasoning to just sort of like turn your problem, like say access policies or privileges around such and such data in the cloud. You kind of, it lets you transform it into something like the Pythagorean theorem, some perfect mathematical object that you can reason about and like say things about and prove things about that are like forever, in all cases. And so that was really attractive to Amazon.
So I want to talk a little bit about his research and expertise when it comes to eliminating AI hallucinations. But first of all, I think we all know the like dumb hallucinations that can come up. You'll be like, when was I born? And they'll just like reply with something incorrect. But what kind of hallucinations was he looking at? Was it just false information replies? Were there other sort of like aspects of this?
It's kind of more along the lines of what you said, but, the kind of just, it said something that is wrong, But the definition of wrong is, that can occupy this huge spectrum of kind of wrongness, like from the kind of stupidly obvious things like what you just said, to more subtle, like just swapping like a proper name out for another one, or, just kind of making some subtle thing where if you're reading it, and you're like, oh, the thing that it's saying is true, but this one detail is wrong. Like those things are all kind of the same category.
Right.
And when you are using LLMs to generate stuff for applications in hyper kind of where the truth really, really, really matters and accuracy is really high stakes.
Right, like medical situations.
Yeah,
very high stakes. Yeah.
Medical stuff that in Amazon's world, it's more like such and such client might be using the technology to kind of like help generate marketing content for pharmaceuticals. If they get something wrong and then it goes out into the world, there's going to be regulation hammers coming down on that company. It's really not good. And also the fact that, you lie to patients on accident. That's also terrible. So those are the kind of hallucinations that he was taking the screws to with automated reasoning.
So you outlined, some of his work on automated reasoning, but can you give us like an example of how it's been used at Amazon?
There's the product that they spun up called Automated Reasoning Checks. It's part of their Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock system, and it's one of several quote-unquote guardrails that they offer. And it's like a backstopper for, say you build a generative AI app that is leveraging an LLM in some way, and you do it through Bedrock. And you want to make sure that it's not going to hallucinate its outputs because it's got some application in, let's say, like pharmaceuticals, like we were just talking about. So automated reasoning checks is this little kind of like sidecar to your app where it works because in a situation or an application like that, there tends to be rules that have to be followed in this extremely rigid kind of like always, never, yes, no kind of way. And their policies are usually written out somewhere. So you can upload the policies to automated reasoning checks. They will get transformed into this special language called formal logic. That's kind of what automated reasoning talks in. And then everything that the chatbot says or kind of outputs in response to somebody asking it something will also get translated into this special language. Once those two things are there, the automated reasoning engine can kind of just like calculate on it. The analogy I used in my piece was like, it's like running TurboTax. Like they, in this special language, it can kind of like crunch away and sort of prove in this airtight way what's within bounds and what's out of bounds. And anything that's out of bounds will then get flagged, and it will also kind of have a little explanation for what was wrong with it, why it was wrong or invalid or in conflict with itself. And then that engine will say, LLM, try again, or it will, kick it over to a person to deal with. And so it's kind of this calculator essentially for the truth value of what is coming out of the bot.
In terms of how Amazon is using automated reasoning checks, like, are we as users already experiencing it, going to experience it?
Yeah, part of what made this story interesting was that it's sort of this invisible layer in a lot of stuff that is already out there. So they have it in Rufus, their kind of AI shopping chatbot. It's kind of backstopping some of the things that Rufus is allowed to say to you. If you ask it about blah, blah product, headphones can do this or something like that, it's supposed to be able to stop the assistant from saying things that aren't true. Will it tell you that, like, hey, guess what? What I just told you is, certified true by automated reasoning? No, it won't say that. Okay. It won't make a big deal out of it. But that's going on in the background. Cook didn't really kind of break this down for me very much, but it's part of how they control their warehouse robots too, which are all moving around in close quarters, and you can use it to sort of keep them from tangling up with each other. And another thing is Amazon has its own version of kind of a GPT or a Gemini. Their version is called Nova, and it's kind of touching those AI foundation models too.
I guess to kind of end this segment, I want to talk about the larger picture here, which is if there is a larger implementation of symbolic logic along with in neural networks, alongside neural networks work, what are the upsides? What are we going to see? And then also, are there any concerns you see going forward?
Yeah. So Byron, because he is, he sees himself almost as this kind of like intellectual missionary for automated reasoning. He kind of has his version of the big picture vision of kind of like what would the world look like if neurosymbolic AI was kind of like the new normal. And what I liked about his vision is that it's very down to earth. He's just like, okay, like this isn't like, Silicon God in your life. It's just like a super competent Siri. Where you can actually use it for complicated things like, I don't know how to I want to build an ADU on my property for my mom to live in, now that she's retired. There's a whole bunch of regulations. I don't know how they work. I don't know who I got to get permits from or whatever. Like, imagine if you could kind of like talk to Siri about that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, regulation heavy complexity problem that he sees the world actually being full of. I agree with him about that. And that's exactly the kind of problem that his kind of neurosymbolic AI could actually plausibly kind of like allow normal people to get traction on. So that's how he sees how it could quote unquote change the world.
I mean, we've seen generative AI models be like famously horrible at math. Do you think this is something that, could improve it or not really?
Yes, 100%. It's already kind of being used for that because automated reasoning comes from math, or it's like very very close to math. That's not like sexy stuff, but it's like there's a lot of action happening already in that regard. So I guess the kind of big takeaway is, let me just say, like, I don't think Byron himself would disagree with this. That kind of vision that I just kind of paraphrased of his about, what would the world look like if I had a magic wand and I could make it the way I think it should work? That's not going to happen anytime soon. It's not like, 18 months from now, Amazon is going to make that possible. That's just sort of like the big picture. So what will or could be possible in the nearer term is just like the ways that quote unquote AI or generative AI post ChatGPT AI like works now, which is kind of sort of / sometimes / you hope, with automated reasoning kind of like attached to it, you'll just start to see like AI work, like it won't be like necessarily like mind blowing or sexy. It'll be mostly invisible, or at least automated reasoning's kind of like contribution will be mostly invisible. It'll just be more trustworthy and more reliable and useful in more cases. I think that's the kind of, down to earth, where could you see it sort of, picture here. The reason why Amazon cares so much, or one of the big reasons Amazon cares so much about this approach is because it's very promising for kind of making AI agents be useful and reliable enough to deploy. And all the businesses out there, they want this to be trustworthy and reliable in order to actually use it. And so that's another thing that you might see in the near term, which is like, you might actually see AI agents showing up at work, because if they are kind of built with this reliability aspect powered by automated reasoning engines, they can be more trusted, which means they could actually start to be deployed in a more kind of, again, mostly invisible, possibly not super sexy, but just reliable way.
And then in terms of any concerns or things that people should be cautious about, I mean, first you said this is not happening anytime super soon. So I guess the timeline is part of this. But is there anything else that, you can see as something people should be worried about?
Worried might be too strong of a term, but like aware in a concerned way is how I would say. Like every cool, new, exciting thing in AI seems to very quickly acquire this snowballing momentum of like, this is the new solution to everything, or this is the new panacea, this is a silver bullet. This automated reasoning, I don't think is going to have too much of that problem, but it's still good to know that like it's not a panacea. It is not a silver bullet. It's not like, okay, we fixed it. Hallucinations are dead and in the ground. It's there. It only works in some pretty specific cases. usually cases where, like I said before, you've got some kind of policy that needs to be followed to the letter. And that's just not everything, like Cook himself was saying, like, let's say you asked Rufus, like, are the strawberry, I don't actually know if you can order strawberries from Amazon, but this is the example he used. Are the strawberries going to be squishy when they get to me? He's like, automated reasoning can't help with that.
I'd really question anyone who's like, I need to use AI for this. I'm not going to lie.
No, we do need it. And this is
weird.
why we need Optimus. This is why we need Tesla's Optimus robots.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, like the thing to be aware about, if you hear about how neurosymbolic AI is going to just, solve everything that, is wrong with AI, probably won't, it's just like anything else. It can't do everything. It can't patch every problem. But the problems that it can patch, this is why I wrote about it. It's like, this is one of the first kind of weapons against this fundamental flaw in LLMs.
I like that. Well, John, thank you so much. We'll be back with John for Keeping Tabs, but first, a quick break followed by my interview with Stitch Fix CEO Matt Baer. Stitch Fix, the styling service that recommends clothing to consumers, sends products to them in a box, and lets them mail back what they don't want, has been in turnaround mode for 2 years. The company has faced competition from other online retailers and difficulty shouldering the high operational costs of mailing and receiving boxes of clothes. They're also dealing with overall subscription fatigue. I spoke with Stitch Fix's CEO Matt Baer about the company's turnaround efforts and how he's using AI to improve the user experience. Well, hey, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So there was a recent article in the Wall Street Journal about Stitch Fix's sort of 2-year turnaround plan, but where was the business when you joined that you needed to turn it around? What was wrong with it?
I joined Stitch Fix because my whole career, my whole life, really, I've been chasing how can we use technology and innovation to create superior client experiences. And that's the entire reason that Katrina founded Stitch Fix almost 15 years ago. And the idea or the reality that we know more about our clients before their very first transaction than most retailers learn about their clients over the course of their lifetime relationship gives us this really unique ability to create a personal experience, a superior retail experience. And I was very excited to join and help realize that full potential of the Stitch Fix vision. In order for us to be successful in realizing that vision, we really had to lean in and make sure that we were building upon a really strong financial foundation with retail best practices across the board.
Before we get to the turnaround plan, you got to tell me, what were the bad numbers you were trying to fix? Because you don't undertake a turnaround plan without problems, right?
Coming out of the pandemic, and as shoppers returned to stores, revenue had been declining and our active client count had been declining. And at the end of the day, the opportunity as a retailer was to build back towards revenue growth and to build back towards active client growth. So those were the two key metrics that we were looking at from an improvement standpoint.
Now, you outlined a kind of 3-phase strategy to turn the company around. What does that first phase look like? I think you called it the rationalize step.
Yeah, we really had to rationalize the business. We went deep in every single functional area. We had to make sure that the work that we were doing was the right work, that we were operating as efficiently as possible, and that it was in an effort to create this really strong client and financial foundation. So as an example, we exited the UK. We closed 3 fulfillment centers. We built an entirely new process for buying inventory, flowing inventory, pricing our inventory. We became much more efficient within our supply chain. We introduced new technology and innovation into our styling experience to create both better client outcomes and more cost-effective styling experiences. And as a result, we removed about $500 million in SG&A just from the work we did in that rationalization phase.
And what does the build phase look like now?
Yeah, so the build phase is when you get to have a little bit more fun. That's when you start to think about what are the improvements to the client experience to fully realize that original vision for Stitch Fix. And what's really important to me is to get to know my clients, Stitch Fix clients, as intimately as possible. I actually organized my very first client focus group when I was a candidate for the role. And then on my very first day in the role, we started to organize additional in-person client focus groups. And the insights that we would gather from our clients really helped inform where the areas that we had to lean in to build back that business. The first was, how do we deepen the engagement and the experiences that we offer to our clients such that they're returning to Stitch Fix frequently and that they're thinking about us for any and all of their apparel and accessories needs?
I want to talk about that one a little bit because active client retention has been a real issue for the company. First of all, why were they leaving? And secondly, what are some of the things you're doing to kind of keep them there?
Yeah, so from an engagement perspective, we had to give our clients a reason to visit Stitch Fix in between their fixes, and how to think about us for inspiration, how to think about us for advice, not just at the moment of purchase, but every day. So a lot of that investment, it started with a rebranding of the business, an evolution of our brand platform, which we call Retail Therapy, and then investments into our CRM and MarTech stack so that we could deliver that personalization, that styling advice, and that inspiration right to them on a frequent basis. And as we've evolved, that pillar of the transformation is becoming even more exciting. Recently, we launched a generative AI image style visualization experience that we call Vision. So now clients can see themselves dressed head to toe in Stitch Fix apparel. It's fully shoppable, it's shareable across all social platforms. And it gives clients a really exciting reason to come into the app on a constant basis and be inspired by the service that we offer.
Is the hope that, eventually you might move away from subscription towards just people coming in all the time? Or what I mean? How much of the pie is that going to take up?
Yeah, I love that question. That was one of the additional key insights that led to another pillar of that transformation, which is how do we create more flexibility within our experience? The experience used to be 5 items in a box in a recurring cadence with only one discount mechanism. And that experience is completely unrecognizable today. You can have fixes of all different sizes. You can have themed fixes. You can start a fix in a more traditional and personalized e-commerce experience that we call freestyle and turn that into a fix experience. We've more recently launched household accounts so that you can create this fix experience or the Stitch Fix experience for your kids, your partner, your spouse, your parents, your grandparents. And, that has created just a ton of additional engagement and utilization of the service across the board.
When you were offering that sort of one model with the monthly boxes, were consumers, are you saying, just experiencing subscription fatigue? I remember when Stitch Fix was on our cover in 2018 and every business was a subscription business at the time.
For some clients, that core business model worked perfectly. And for those clients, of course, in many ways, they can still utilize the service exactly how they always have. What our opportunity was to personalize the experience to the individual just as much as we personalize every single fix to that individual and the assortment that we send them. So we're creating a very flexible platform so that we can meet our clients where they are. And they can change the cadence in terms of how often they receive a fix. They can manually request fix, or they can adjust their auto ship as well. So we're really meeting our clients where they are. And that way we can ensure that we're going to be able to serve any and all of their apparel and accessories needs.
Got it. I'm curious, when you were attending these focus groups, what was the most surprising or biggest insight you kind of took from them and you then sort of implemented measures to, improve the business from?
The most exciting thing that I learned in our focus groups, each focus group had a different theme. We had one theme was in Dallas, and that was who we thought were our most loyal clients. And what I learned from them was they were so eager to spend more money with us, but we had made that difficult. And that's where so many of the insights for a more flexible experience came from. And you think about all of the use cases across a customer journey. If you're starting a new job, you're going to go and you're probably going to buy 10 or 15 items of clothing, not just 5. So how do we meet that client where they are? How do we make sure that we can meet all of their needs for every shopping journey each time? One other thing that was really interesting, this was a client focus group that we did, and these were clients that we thought had effectively decided they didn't want a relationship with Stitch Fix anymore. And in the initiation of the focus group, and I shared, what was the common bond that brought them all together, the majority of the people spoke up and said, wait, I love Stitch Fix. I think I'm in the wrong focus group. And it was just because, we had been thinking about one client journey as, who we serve best and how a client would relate to the service. Where, as an example, this one client, she said, I joined Stitch Fix when I got my first job out of college. And it helped make sure I had the right outfits, the right attire to be appropriate for work. And then they don't shop that much. So they didn't have a relationship with us for a while. But then she went to graduate school at NYU. And she brought back her relationship with Stitch Fix, completely outfitted herself again for this life stage. And then while she was a student, she didn't make that many purchases. She got a job out of graduate school and joined Stitch Fix again. So what we'd been missing was so many clients really loved our service. But again, we had to tailor that experience to them, and we had to understand the different need states of clients at different times. And how can we make sure that we are showing up for them every time they have a need?
It sounds like, as you mentioned, you have these kind of super loyal customers and you're trying to get them to spend more money. Tell me about customer acquisition at the moment.
Yeah. So one of the pieces that I mentioned too in terms of the transformation is we had an opportunity to rebrand our business and to make sure that we had a really modern brand, a really modern interface, and then critically an opportunity that as we created our marketing content, it had to do a good job across several different fronts. One, it had to do a really good job explaining the service. Two, it had to do a really good job then explaining that service and explaining the utility for that individual client. And then three, our biggest opportunity maybe was to then take that marketing content and pull that through the actual experience that a client has. So as we evolved our brand platform, we thought about all of the different segments that the Stitch Fix experience would be a superior one for. And we designed personalized content for that experience. And then we created personalized landing pages as well and carried that content through for the stylist and the client experience after the fact. A really good example of that is a lot of people in this country today are on GLP-1 medications and they're going through a body transformation. And the ability to have a stylist and a stylist that can uniquely meet your needs and understand the transformation your body's going through, that's one that we can uniquely provide, that a client or a consumer is really not able to get that level of service anywhere else. So when we go to market, we can tell that story, we can identify who those clients are, then we can bring them into a personalized landing page for people that are on GLP-1 medications or going through a body transformation. And then after they've onboarded, that's information we can then provide to their stylist so that they can uniquely serve them and make sure that they are able to take care of all of the unique needs that that client has.
You mentioned at the beginning of the business transformation piece, the fact that you have access to all this data, but maybe you weren't using it to its full extent. And I went back and read our 2018 cover story where you all said you were doing that. What are some of the gaps you were seeing? What are some of the ways you've taken further advantage of it?
The opportunity that we had was to take all of that data and then make sure that we're personalizing it to the individual and that we're continuing to evolve that experience as well. And, the way that, I like to think about that is we can learn that a client is joining Stitch Fix because they started a new job. They need to completely build a new wardrobe of work-appropriate outfits. But eventually, you're going to have enough dress shirts and enough dress pants within your closet. So how do you continue to evolve and say, okay, we've got your workwear covered. Now let's make sure we've got your activewear covered. Let's make sure we've got your special occasion covered. And then let's also make sure that we're thinking about what is that right experience and what is that right cadence going forward based on what we know about you. So maybe we should slow down your deliveries, or maybe we should suggest more themed fixes in the future, or maybe we'll personalize the content within our freestyle shopping experience in order for you to manage your replenishment of that workwear in the future. And that evolution is one that's really helped us improve the experience and has helped us continually improve our LTV metrics for all of the client cohorts we've acquired since then.
Now, I'm curious, who is demographically the Stitch Fix consumer at the moment? I know this is, again, ages ago when we did reporting, it was often people who lived in parts of the country where they didn't necessarily have access to malls, for instance. Like, tell me about that.
The starting point for who the client is that's right for Stitch Fix is the client that's frustrated with the alternatives in the market. And the data there is pretty clear. Fewer than 10% of people enjoy shopping for apparel in person. Fewer than 15% of people enjoy shopping for apparel online. And for most of us, it's not hard to understand why that experience is such a troubling one. And it's not hard for us then to explain to those folks why Stitch Fix is a superior one. We pair each individual with that human stylist, and that allows you to have someone that can get to know you intimately and serve you individually. If you walk into a physical retail location today, you're very unlikely going to find the same person that serviced you before. And if you do, it's even more unlikely that they're going to remember you. That ability that we provide at Stitch Fix is one that creates this very unique experience that our clients really appreciate, that all clients really appreciate. And we think about prospective client segments in a few different ways. One is what you identified. We call those fashion deserts. More and more malls are closing. More and more department stores are closing. And customers really don't have anywhere where they can go either experience apparel and accessories or get styling help. Another is what's a huge subset of the population is people that need help in terms of what's in style, what's on trend, how do I put outfits together. I have a client, she's 60 years old, she's a business executive, she lives in San Francisco, and she comes to Stitch Fix because she wants to make sure that when she goes to work, she's appropriately in style, appropriately on trend, and we're able to help with that. And then the third, and this is one that's an overwhelming percentage of the population, is folks that are just really looking for more time back in their life. Again, most people don't enjoy shopping for apparel. And for us, we save our clients time. And for a family that uses Stitch Fix, we're saving them upwards of 250 hours a year. That's more time for them to attend a soccer game, a dance recital, anything that they find more joy out of than going to the mall. An example, I have a client in Alabama. She's a single mom, 3 kids. She works as a teacher, and she doesn't have time to go shopping. And she effectively outsources that to us. And we give her more time back in her day that she gets to spend with her kids outside of work.
Now, you also have a private label business. And I'm curious, tell me about how much of the pie that part of the business takes up. Tell me about your approach to it. What is the deal there?
When I joined Stitch Fix, I was very fortunate to walk into a business that had a pretty robust private label assortment. If I go back to the rationalization phase of our transformation, we also had work to improve the quality of that private brand assortment. And we really rationalized, does every brand play a role in this business? And if not, we edited it out. And then within brands, does every item play a role for that brand? And if not, we edited it out. Through that process, we also found an opportunity to create new private brands. We created a private brand in men's called The Commons, which is kind of your everyday essentials. It's now a top 10 brand for us in the men's business. We created Montgomery Post, which is a women's wear brand that's doing exceptionally well for us. And that private brand business is now about 40 to 50% of our overall business. And we take the approach that we need to be very client-driven in terms of what is that right balance for our business. There's a lot of reasons why our clients come to us for national brands as well, and they play an important role for us. So we really let the client dictate kind of at the end of the day, but we're proud of the revenue that the private brand business drives for us. And one of the exciting innovations that we've really leaned into is now 100% of our private brand assortment is developed using generative AI. So we are taking a process that used to take months, and we're able to complete that in weeks. And it's also helping us ensure that we're staying appropriately ahead of or on style and trend within our private brand assortment as well. So we're bringing kind of that innovation that was in the DNA of our business, and we're completely kind of disrupting what is that traditional private brand development process in the process.
Yeah, it's sort of like not that your clothes are the same quality, but it's kind of the Shein approach to, getting clothes made quickly that are on trend. And I'm guessing also forecasting demand, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have proprietary AI that also helps us from a demand perspective ensure we're buying the right items in the right quantities and flowing it at the right time after we use, our generative AI capabilities to make sure we are producing the right products in the first place.
Stitch Fix has said it puts humans in the loop. You're obviously styling people, but I'm guessing you also use AI style assistants and Stitch Fix Vision. Like, how does that all fit together?
We have a really strong perspective that the absolute best experiences are going to be ones that capitalize on all of the benefits and capabilities of generative AI and use them in combination with the capabilities of our human stylists. Mm-hmm. And we work really hard both to find the right balance in aggregate, but also how do we create the ability for each client to personalize that experience so that they are thinking about what makes the most sense for them. So we have an AI style assistant where clients can go in and talk to the AI style assistant. It helps them really speak to what are they looking for from a style perspective or a trend perspective, or I have a wedding coming up in Maine, how can I make sure I have the right outfit for that? And the AI style assistant then can feed AI generated images back to validate we're on the right track. Mm-hmm. And then all of that information is passed back to the human stylist to help ensure when a fix actually arrives for the client, it's going to be the absolute best possible assortment of apparel that we have. And we're also continuously building tools for our stylists that are leveraging generative AI so that they can write the best note, make the best recommendations, put the best outfit together. And I think over time, what you'll see is, this move towards a more agentic commerce experience, but where both the client and the stylist are in control in every interaction of, how much do they want the human in the loop or not? And that way we can ensure that we're always providing that superior level of service and meeting the customer where they are.
Mm-hmm. And do you anticipate hiring fewer stylists as a result?
We really think about it as, again, like meet that client where they are. Mm-hmm. So as an example of that, we created a new platform. It's called Stylist Connect. So if I go all the way back to one of the pillars of our building phase, it was deepening the client-stylist relationship. And we wanted to create a platform where clients and stylists could interact in near real time such that, if you're a client and you're, at work or you're out on the street and you see something that inspires you, you can take a photo of it, you could send it to your stylist. Mm-hmm. You could say, hey, do we have anything like this that would work for me and my budget, whatever. And the stylist can, immediately send you back. We have this item, do you love it or hate it? If you love it, okay, do you want me to build an outfit around it? Do you want to see yourself in a generative AI image wearing this outfit? And then they can either put that in a fix for you or add it to your cart so that you can check out immediately. An example of that is actually this shirt here. It was served up in a Stitch Fix Vision image that was created on my behalf. Mm-hmm. I love the shirt. In the Stylist Connect platform, I sent it to my stylist, Heather, and she put an outfit around it together and added it to my cart. And it was just this seamless and magical experience.
Are you wearing the whole outfit today?
I'm not wearing the whole outfit today. It's a little bit more layered, but I do have the whole outfit. And
is it a private brand shirt or is it an outside brand?
This shirt that I got through Vision is not a private brand, but
where's it from?
It's from Cotton, Katin.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's a cool brand. Yeah. The shirt underneath is a private brand. That's from our private brand collection. It's called Aylesbury.
What is the average spend on a Stitch Fix order?
In terms of the average spend, we don't break that information out. But, what I will share and what was really important to me when I joined is how do we make sure, we're really maximizing the closet share or the wallet share for our consumers. And that goes back to the flexibility in the experience. It goes back to the quality of the assortment. And critically, how do we diversify the categories that we're in? And as a result of all those efforts, we have 8 consecutive quarters of average order value growth.
Wow.
And in the last quarter, our average order value is actually up 12%. So, we're doing a really good job kind of deepening that relationship, serving our clients in new ways, and really standing for both quality and value simultaneously.
I think it's fair to say I really feel for any CEO of a public company that deals with physical goods. Tariffs and inflation have been completely insane this year. And I'm curious how it's affected Stitch Fix and how you're navigating it.
So we've done a good job. The team has done a really good job in terms of how they're navigating and mitigating the tariff impact. We have, as I noted, really healthy private brand business with a really diverse vendor base. We also have hundreds of national brands in our portfolio as well. So we were able to pretty strategically navigate tariffs in order to mitigate cost impacts. In our last fiscal year, we were really proud that just ended at the end of July that we had no impact from tariffs in terms of margin hit or having to raise our retails, and a pretty nominal forward-looking guide in terms of what that would be. And that's because of the great work from our team and the great partnership across all of our vendors and all the brands that we sell. So we feel really good about where we're at, where we're competitively positioned, and just how dynamic our vendor base is.
There's been a lot of kind of doomy forecasting about holiday shopping. I'm curious, you said the average order value has gone up, but do you anticipate customers feeling a little more, I don't know, scared or reluctant to spend money? What does that look like?
So I'm reading the same news, the same headlines that you are. What I can tell you is that we were so excited, last quarter, our second consecutive quarter of revenue growth. And, on that call in September, we guided to another consecutive quarter of accelerated revenue growth. And my perspective is no matter what's going on in the macro environment, we have an opportunity to gain market share. Our opportunity today is to play offense. And if there are any macro headwinds, we're going to face them head on. And I'm really confident that our service is one that has that ability to meet or exceed clients' needs, even in a tough environment. The relationship that our clients have with their stylists is so deep and so personal. Often a stylist is the first one that finds out, like if a client's child is getting married or if they're expecting or if they're planning a vacation, our stylists will get invited to their clients' weddings. And so,
Does that happen?
It happens. It's real.
Have you been invited?
I haven't.
You got to get back to work.
It's funny. I spend as much time as I can with our stylists, and I hear all these stories, and I'm always, I'm like patiently waiting. Like, when is my moment? But it's yet to transpire. But what I do know, and what my clients, do share with me is, if they do have a change in their budget, or if they do want to change what they're looking for, and we're able to do that for them in a way that no one else really can. And it's, one of the other benefits where our assortment can meet clients' needs across so many price points that no matter where the client is, we're really confident that we're going to keep or, in all likelihood, accelerate how much wallet share we're getting from them.
How are you guys preparing for the holidays?
Holidays at Stitch Fix is a really special time. We start early. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we do is helping people build the outfits they need for all the special occasions, for all of the vacations, for all of the trips. So we have an opportunity to get ahead of it. And that really helps, again, from kind of that wallet share, market share perspective. We've also got a really great service for kind of that self-gifting moment. Where, again, like you've been eyeing product, but, you jump into Stitch Fix Freestyle, you're going to know everything you see matches your style preference. It's going to fit you. The time is now. And the piece we're really leaning in this year goes back to what we were talking about, household accounts. Mm-hmm. So for the first time in Stitch Fix's history, we really have this gifting opportunity where across all the different profiles that you've created or you will create, now you actually, for what I think is the first time in the history of apparel, can actually buy someone clothing and it'll match their style and it will fit them.
Yeah, you're not like, when your in-laws give you something and you're like... Yeah,
that's exactly right. When I was a kid and you start to unwrap a holiday gift and it's apparel, like your heart sinks. I don't want that. Because, at best, it means you get to return it and buy something else you might actually want. But if you gift through Stitch Fix, the person's going to be excited about it.
That makes sense. I have a speed round after this, but to close out the serious questions.
Okay.
What is your long-term vision for sustained profitability? Like 2 years from now, where do you want this company to be?
For profitability, we're already in a very enviable place. Another thing that attracted me to Stitch Fix was the contribution profit of the business. I've been in and around digital retail for a long time. I've worked at, one retailer where their digital contribution profit was negative, another where it wasn't that much better. When I joined Stitch Fix, our contribution profit was in the 25 to 30% range. And as a result of the work we did in that rationalization phase of our transformation, we've now delivered 6 consecutive quarters of a contribution profit above 30%. And that is just an incredibly incredibly enviable position for any digital retailer or any omni-channel retailer's digital business. So now that we've returned to revenue growth and we continue to accelerate that revenue growth, a high level of confidence that we will leverage the P&L even further, and we've got the foundation that we need for that sustainable and profitable future. In terms of where the business will be in 2 years, we're going to continue to lean in, continue to be that leader in innovation and technology within retail. It's our right to win and continue to meet clients where they are with the most innovative experiences, like we've recently launched with Stitch Fix Vision and our AI Style Assistant and our Stylist Connect platform. And through that work, we're really confident that we'll get to a place where we can own the entirety of every client's closet. And we can continue to expand the market and the segments of clients that we're reaching. Because our opportunity is to get out there and really explain to each person why Stitch Fix is a superior service and why it should be the only place they go to for any and all of their apparel and accessories needs.
All right, speed round. What's the best thing you've gotten recommended from Stitch Fix?
It has to be the Commons cashmere sweater. Phenomenal value. That is my kind of go-to uniform top these days.
When you're styling people, is there an item you most recommend or like a style that you consistently see?
There's a bomber jacket that I helped develop, and they then named it after me. So every time I style...
So you recommend the Matt to everyone?
Every time I style a men's client, that happens to find its way into the Fix experience.
That's awesome. What is your favorite client segment to style?
My favorite client segment to style is probably kids. Having 2 young kids of my own, and
they also can't really say no.
They can't say no, but it's just really fun because I can, just envision, I see how much joy my kids get every time a Fix arrives at the house. And as I'm putting the Fix together, I'm like feeling that joy and that excitement like proactively. And our adult clients similarly like love the surprise and delight element of a Fix, but I just know how uniquely special that is for kids. And it gives me a bit of a high every time I style a kid's account.
What is your... When I say favorite, I guess it's like the one you order most, non-private label, so like brand on the site.
Probably in terms of quantity over the last couple of years, it would be Vuori. I have, I think, every Vuori hoodie that they've ever made at this point in like 3 different colors each. But as we've added so many new brands over the last year, it's really like, it's given me an opportunity to look across the board. We launched this new brand recently called Eastside Golf, which, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm cool enough to wear it. But
it's a golf brand. Come on, man. You can do it.
Look it up. I don't know. I also don't golf.
That's fair.
I'd call it more like streetwear meets golf.
Right. Okay.
So anyhow, that's the new brand that I'm probably, most excited about that we've added to our collection.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for taking the time. I actually regret ahead of this interview, I meant to go through like a dummy process of ordering. I mean, I'd return it all, but like just to see the experience.
I'm happy to be your stylist. You see if we can make it stick.
That would be so funny.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm game.
All right, let's do it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Okay, we are back with John, and it's time to wrap up the show with Keeping Tabs. This is where each of us shares a story, trend, or piece of pop culture we're following right now. And John, since you're our guest, what are you keeping tabs on?
Okay, I have 2 things I'm keeping tabs on, so you can keep them both or throw one away if you want. At work, I'm keeping tabs on world models, which is sort of like another one of these post-LLM golden ticket to AGI kind of ideas. And it's getting a lot of traction, and I'm paying attention to that because...
What is it? Like, what is a world model?
It's sort of like, all right, I'm trying to think of the shortest possible way to characterize it.
You're like, no, don't ask me.
No, I could talk to you for an hour about it. But, so LLMs are just, they're like mouths without minds, like they don't know anything about anything. They just kind of, pattern match. A world model is kind of like this next generation idea of like, injecting common sense into AI because it would know things about physics and things like that. So people like Yann LeCun and Fei-Fei Li and Gary Marcus are very, very, very excited about these. I personally think they're going to be LLMs, the sequel.
Well, wasn't this reasoning models all over? We had the LLMs and then the reasoning models came out and people were like, oh, this is the thing. And it's just, oh, it takes 5 minutes for it to be a little bit better or something like that.
Yeah, there's just enough science in world models to make it be possibly that much more of a... I am interested in keeping tabs on it because it's just going to be another 5 years of kind of desperately trying to separate the kind of hype from the reality. So that's what I feel like I need to pay attention to for my job. The other thing that I'm keeping tabs for just for fun is this who's going to buy Warner Brothers drama.
Oh, dude, so crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like every edit meeting devolves into people talking about this. And I'm like, guys, we're not the people who are going to breaking news on this. I don't think. Like, it's like everybody's just really interested.
Yeah, go to Puck. Yeah, this is a promo for Puck right now.
Well, right. I listen to Matt Bellamy's podcast, and it's like my version of true crime. It's like, ooh, this is like reality based, but I don't have to care.
Hollywood intrigue, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Are you Team Ellison or Team Netflix?
I am very much Team Netflix because I am a Netflix subscriber. And would I love to have everything in HBO be available to me? Yes, I would.
Josh, what are you keeping tabs on?
So Mr. Beast and his CEO, Beast Industries CEO, Jeffrey Hausenbold? Hausenbold. Jeffrey Hausenbold were at the DealBook Summit last week, and they...
Oh, this is where they announced they wanted to launch a bank or whatever? Or like financial services?
Yeah, the financial services app that they want to launch. And I think there was some rumblings about it. The other thing they talked about was Beast Mobile, their MVNO sort of, Mint Mobile. Everyone's doing MVMOs. Smartless guys have an MVMO. Andrew Yang has one. Tristan Thompson has an MVNO. And Mr. Beast has one as well. But the financial services app, I think, was the big news that they broke, which is fascinating because I feel like Mr. Beast is trying to speed run the 40 under 40 to prison pipeline right now with where he's going. Like Lunchly has mold on it, Mr. Beast Burger debacle, the abusive conditions in the Beast games, and the fact that they're not profitable.
And he doesn't have enough Riz to get past a jury, as we learned from
No, it's true. He needs to have the unbridled animal charisma of a Sam Bankman-Fried in order to get away with this.
Wow, vivid.
They talked about all the things that they want to do on there in terms of like student loans and other banking things, but it ultimately also included was a
Imagine Mr. Beast is the guy you have to pay back for your student loans.
Oh my God. If I transfer ever my student loans from Nelnet to Mr. Beast Financial, kill me.
Those syllables should not be next to each other.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast and Financial.
No, they shouldn't. But the big thing this is going to be is a crypto exchange. That seems like the inevitable outcome of this app. And it's always funny when they talk about, I think there's a quote, I'm trying to find the quote in here from Jeffrey Hausenbold, which was, we're also launching a phone company, Beast Mobile, and a financial services platform in there, wrapped in financial literacy and access to the world's information, and making sure we're doing good while doing well. Quote from Jeffrey Hausenbold. Sure, Jan. Well, anyways, I can't wait till Mr. Beast Financial comes out and I can invest all of my student loan debt on that side. Yaz, what are you keeping tabs on?
So this is sort of random, but I'm a big audiobook listener, and Audible's Black Friday sale was on, so I bought a lot of random half-price books. And
Nice.
I'm a big fan of William Boyd as a writer. He wrote Any Human Heart. He's great. And I realized I'd never actually read Restless, which was one of his biggest hits. So I bought it for like half price. And it's all read by Rosamund Pike.
Ooh.
And it's about spies in the Second World War. It is a literary novel, and it's just so good. Her voices are amazing.
So she does voices?
Yeah, she like acts out all the characters, including accents and different spy handlers.
That does sound good.
Yeah, it's really good.
I love when they get big name actors to do audiobooks.
Me too, man.
It's such a flex.
I had such a good time with this one, and I cannot recommend it enough.
To me, she's always Gone Girl. She's like stuck.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And she's terrifying to me for that reason.
Yeah, I think that's why she's so good, is like a spy handler who might be duplicitous.
On brand.
Yeah.
I love that.
She was in, I went to see Now You See Me 3.
Oh.
Which maybe is called Now You Don't or Now You Three Me.
Now You Three Me.
No, I think that last one I invented. And she's a South African villain in it. And
oh my.
I mean, first of all, I just love those movies. To say there are plot holes is the understatement of the century.
I've never seen any of them, but Jesse Eisenberg cast as a magician, like that tracks.
It's hilarious. They're really fun, and they make I mean, if you stop and think about the action for a second, you're like, what the fuck?
Isn't it basically like Ocean's 11, but magic?
Yeah, but Ocean's 11 was smart. That's the crucial difference.
They actually did some plotting work.
Yeah, whereas this, sometimes they'll do a magic trick and they never explain how they did it. Like, they'll just all, like, jump off a skyscraper.
Well, a magician never reveals their secrets.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, is this Marvel? Like, you need to tell me.
So it's just that they just look like superheroes with cards.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, why is it that I understand some of these tricks and not all of them?
But it's like real magic, not like fantasy magic. It's like David Copperfield.
No, it's real magic. And they'll have, like in the second one, Woody Harrelson, who's a magician, had a weird evil twin with a different accent, and then they just nixed that plot line altogether in the third. Everyone forgot about it. Anyway, I actually highly recommend this series of movies, and I did pay and go see Now You Three Me in cinemas. And Rosamund Pike plays an Elon Musk type mining heiress who is evil, and she's great in it.
I wasn't aware of these movies either, but like your description of them makes me want to go see them. It does sound like a lot of fun.
They're so funny. Like, they're some of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
It seems like a great Saturday morning movie watch, like lazy Saturday.
Well, so my husband and I we went through the Now You See Me's, and we've been going through the Fast and Furious movies.
Hell yeah.
And I gotta say, those actually don't hold up as well as you'd think, because it really is the same plot over and over again.
I mean, how much can you do with cars?
It's like, we're getting the family back together.
Famously, the only thing I know about Fast and Furious is cars, and it's about family. That's all I know.
Well, also, like, the car chase, at least I think Tokyo Drift was quite good, because I saw that in cinemas, but the earlier movies, I'm like, these races are not interesting. Like, it just shows people, like, in a car looking intense, and then
white knuckling, yeah.
Somebody just like wins. Anyway, so Rosamund Pike reading Restless, amazing. Rosamund Pike and Now You See Me 3, also good, maybe not equally good. I think. Don't want to give too much credit to that movie, but I do recommend. There's also a reveal, so like their handler, I'm fine giving away plot points because, frankly, it doesn't matter.
Little quick spoiler alert for Now You Three Me.
Well, so in Now You See Me 1, they're pursued this whole time by a police officer. The Four Horsemen, the names of the magicians, are pursued this whole time by a police officer played by Mark Ruffalo. And then at the end of the movie, it is revealed that he is the son of a famous magician and has been controlling them the whole time. And he inducts them into a secret magician society called the Eye. And then I guess he's a big part of the second movie. And then I guess in the third movie, they couldn't make his schedule work. So at the beginning, they're like, oh man, we had to break up for a while because Mark Ruffalo ended up in Russian prison. And then they don't explain it for the whole movie. And then at the end of the movie, Mark Ruffalo appears as a hologram and says, I had to pretend I was in a Russian prison.
Wow.
To like control you. And it makes no sense.
It sounds like an episode of Arrested Development, but played straight.
It is exactly like that. It is like 3 Arrested Development movies starring magicians.
You know how proud Jay Willis is going to be of this keeping tabs from you? This is a Jay Willis keeping tabs if I've ever heard one. And also, I love that we're closing out this episode with most of the plot to the Now You See Me trilogy.
You'll still enjoy it. You don't know. The way they do card tricks to outwit people is crazy.
We got to get out of this.
All right. Thank you all. And that's it for Most Innovative Companies. We talked about the magic of technology and the magic of magic. Our show is produced by Sam Gebauer, Hawa Otori, Blake Odom, and Miriam Kiporoidze. Editing by Matt Toder, mix and sound design by Todd Waddens and Nicholas Torres, and our executive producer is Josh Christensen. Remember again to subscribe, rate, and review, and we will see you next week.